All right, guys, welcome to the Give Me Liberty podcast of the Standing for Freedom Center at Liberty University. We defend life, liberty, truth to ensure the foundations of freedom exist for the next generation. Joined by a very special guest, obviously a friend of Liberty, no stranger to the Freedom Center or the Give Me Liberty podcast, frequent guest, Nick Freitas. Great to see you, sir.
Great to see you guys. I love the Freedom Center, man.
Yes. Well, the Freedom Center loves you, bro. And by the way, you got to wear our swag. We got to get some to you. So
ever since I had the honor, along with Chad Wright, to speak at Convocation, I got that Liberty athletic hat, that ball cap. Dude, I wear that all the time.
It's
man.
Awesome.
That ball cap is awesome.
We got good stuff. So lots of things are going on right now. We're missing Charlie this year. I'm friends with Erica. I got to meet Erica and Charlie back in 2019. Erica graduated with her Juris Master from Liberty. She worked on her doctorate as well. And she was a founding fellow with the Freedom Center. And Charlie co-founded this thing. So we're doing basically carrying on the work that Charlie started.
Yeah.
Charlie's not here with us, but guess who is? The Lord is. And the Lord is calling each one of us to stand up. Some of the stuff we were talking about off camera, which I love, I want you to talk about this, but there's a lot that's missing. But even as we're missing Charlie, the Lord is not telling us right now, hey, you know what you're missing most is Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
You can't do this without Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
That's clearly not the takeaway.
Yeah.
That's not how Charlie lived his life. No. And that's certainly not what the scripture is pointing us to. Yeah. What should we be doing?
I think one of the things that we need to focus a little bit more on in the conservative movement as a whole, and when I say the conservative movement, I mean it. I want it to be synonymous with Christianity.
Yes.
And Charlie argued for that as well, that our Christianity is what informs our conservatism, not the other way around. And Charlie did not build an organization to be dependent. He built it to be capable. One of the surest signs of a truly good leader is someone that builds something that can continue to carry on when they're gone.
Right.
And none of us wanted or saw it having to operate without Charlie so soon. But you can tell by the young people here, the students that are here, by Erica's leadership, you can tell that they genuinely created something to continue on. And that was because Charlie Kirk didn't go around pointing at Charlie Kirk. Mm-hmm. Charlie Kirk pointed toward Christ.
Right.
And then what he did is he actually gave the youth something to believe in and fight for, not just fight against.
Right.
And I think one of the problems that we have right now, one of the things that we're missing from Charlie right now, one of the things I think Charlie would have reminded everybody about is look, you're going to have your internal fights. That's why Charlie invites people to these events that don't agree on everything. You're going to have your internal fights, but don't forget that we can be on the same team and have internal fights, sometimes significant ones, right? But ultimately, what are we pointing toward? Charlie pointed toward God. He pointed toward the family, right? These are the things that give people the passion, the courage to strive for something greater. So yes, we can talk about our enemies and their strategy. Yes, we can talk about internal differences, but please, for the love of God, focus on something worth living for, not just something worth complaining about.
Yes. It's interesting. We've said this often from a number of angles in our writings and podcast form, all of it. Everybody needs something to live for, to die for, something to love, something to own.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All of those things are necessary in order to inspire that next generation to call something home.
Yeah.
They need a family, right? And a purpose.
Identity, purpose, meaning.
All of it, right? And if you don't have that, it's really hard to get somebody to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Time, talent, treasure, to sacrifice their sacred honor, right? They have to have something established, something that is, not just a goal in the abstract, but to say no, this is my home. These are the people that I love. I'm here to fight for this, you know? And so I think that the left's campaign to demoralize has been somewhat successful because you have a whole victim mentality.
Yeah.
It wasn't just in BLM, but you have a victim mentality right now where you say, I can't do this unless.
Yeah.
I can't unless. And it's listen, I will be the first to acknowledge that the odds are stacked against you, but quit whining. we've got to, right?
The victim mentality, I always say I distinguish between someone who is victimized and a victim mentality. The problem is that for too long we have elevated and we have put our focus on the victimization. So that's what gives you clout. What gives you clout is how many victim statuses you can claim in the intersectional pyramid of power, right?
Right.
What we should be doing is the proper response to victimization is actually pity, like genuine pity. It's like it's the deep feeling of sadness that something happened that was unjust. Well, we've made that a virtue. The virtuous is not the victimization. The virtue is something bad happened and you rose above. Something bad happened and you overcame. That's what we should be elevating, because if you elevate the victimization, you'll get more people yearning to be victims. And what they do, because nobody actually wants to be a victim, they start creating categories of victimization that are stupid. Like, oh my gosh, I was traumatized by my parents. Why? Well, because they didn't buy my car. Okay, so you don't know what trauma is,
right?
And if that did traumatize you, you're weak, and that's a problem. Okay, mom and dad telling you no is not trauma, right? So you having to deal with difficult situations is not trauma. So elevate the overcoming things, because if you say no, what we encourage, what we reward, what we lift up as an example to be followed is overcoming difficult challenges and circumstances. You'll get more of that. You get more of what you reward as a society and less of what you punish. And so we need more of that. But what you said is very important. We need something to fight for, not just fight against. Because typically, if you think about this, when you're fighting against something, your motivation is anger. Your motivation is fury, it's frustration. That's what motivates the against. When you're fighting for, it's love, it's joy, it's honor, right? I'm telling you right now, I've been to war. The best soldiers are the ones that know what they're fighting for, not just what they're fighting against. Right? Understanding the against may be a necessary component. It is not sufficient. Understanding the for is what truly leads people toward acts of courage and bravery that Scripture talks about.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Hugely important. We need to inspire this next generation to take certain levels of responsibility.
Yeah,
right. And so part of that, now it's interesting, you did mention parents, and I also know at the same time, that's true. And at the same time, there's a lot of people that are growing up in a single parent household. There's no fathers. And what fathers do, do they do everything for you? No, fathers oftentimes bring the justice into the situation and tell kids, like, you have to grow up, right? You have to face responsibility. Fathers teach sons to do that.
Yeah.
Fathers are the ones who basically move you away from the entitlement mentality. Yes. But a lot of that is missing right now.
Well, it is. Kids are I was just talking about this with Trail Life.
Yeah.
And it was the idea that they're providing rites of passage. Young men are looking for rites of passage. They don't want to be coddled. They want earned respect. Because there's a reason why Scripture talks about, wives, respect your husbands. It's because for us, it's almost impossible to feel love or to be cherished or to be admired if we're not respected.
Right.
Well, I can't give you respect. Right? You can earn it from me.
Right.
So how do I help my son earn respect? I give him challenges. I give him age-appropriate challenges, some of which I'm almost certain he will fail because I have to teach him how to contend with failure. The attitude has to be, I failed. What did I learn? How do I do different? How do I overcome? Because if they never fail, then the first time they do, it's devastating.
Yeah.
Right? So everything about this is, you almost think of it as sparring. Right? I'm going to put you into conditions where you're going to feel some pain. You're going to feel some loss. You're going to feel some sorrow. You're going to feel all these things so that I can teach you to contend with it. So when you go out into the world, it doesn't shock you. And nothing is better than launching out a son who feels prepared for the world that he's entering.
Right.
With his faith, with his capability, with his competence, with his determination. But that doesn't just magically happen.
Right.
It has to be, they have to be trained in that way. And moms play a role in this as well. I like to tell mom, I had a mother ask me, she goes, how do I help bring out the man in my son? And I said, understand something. A lot of the things that you did to make your son feel safe, secure, and loved when he was very little make him feel weak when he gets older. So there's still a role to play for that nurturing. Like my mom, I have a great relationship with my mother. My son has a great relationship with his mother. Like when something happens big in my son's life, his first call is to mom.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not because we're not close. It's just they have that relationship. But my wife, as he became older, allowed him to deal with situations on his own and encouraged it by saying things like, hey, can you carry this for mommy? Hey, buddy, can you open this for mommy? Hey, buddy. And he would open the door for his mother. They're walking down the street. He takes the side closest to the road. We sit in a restaurant. He sits looking at the door just like dad does.
Yeah.
Right. So he's watching dad do it. Mom is encouraging and rewarding him for doing it.
Yeah.
Because I can teach him to be a man, but the first person he practices with is his mother and his little sisters.
True.
Yeah.
Very, very true. I've got a son. I've got 3 girls, but I got 1 son. And already, I mean, he's the second kid, but already he faces a lot of these responsibilities. And when I'm not at home, he's got to be the man of the house. It's really interesting. So he's the one doing all the outdoor chores, mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, and just doing things that, like, frankly, they don't want to deal with, even inside the house. It's like the gross toilet stuff he has to deal with, all of that. But it's important. And then learning chivalry. Like, you may not be strong yet, but even as a kid, like holding that heavy door open for a lady is, one day you need to train your strength so that you can be strong. So then you can know what to do with that strength when you are strong.
Oh, and this is what I say, like you get more of what you reward.
Yeah.
And it's so critical when a young man is, I remember the first time my son got in kind of a bit of an altercation that didn't necessarily go his way, but he stood up to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm proud of you.
Good.
I say I love you to my son a lot, but I would say I'm proud of you when you did something that was worthy of praise.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I just said it all the time, it's meaningless.
Right.
Right. So it's, I love you. I want you to know that I love you no matter what.
Yes.
But when you do something worthy of praise, worthy of honor, I demonstrate that I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's very, very good. Talk just a little bit about 2026, 250th anniversary. Can't get by without talking about that.
Yeah.
And biggest concerns.
For the long time, I've been concerned about the direction of the country, about the almost complete ideological capture of so many culturally shaping institutions, whether it be education or arts and entertainment. And the thing that I'm actually encouraged about is those things are going to happen, right?
Yeah.
The enemy gets a say. But I've never seen a critical mass of conservatives, of Christians that seem to be waking up to what this fight really is. And it's not against flesh and blood, but flesh and blood's participating in it, right?
Right.
So we got to keep our focus correct. But I feel like they finally understand, like, oh, we can't peacefully coexist with evil.
Right.
No, you can't. You're not supposed to tolerate evil. You're not supposed to accommodate evil. You're really not supposed to celebrate evil. Evil should be uncomfortable in your presence. Evil should be terrified in your presence. And you know what? That's divisive. And that's okay because Christ told us the truth would be divisive. And so I am seeing more and more men in the church. I'm seeing strong women in the church. I love talking to Allie Beth Stuckey and others who they're coming out there and boldly and unapologetically proclaiming the truth in love. But love is divisive at times.
Right.
Right. Love sometimes is hard. And I'm seeing more of that. And I'm seeing more young men giving the church a chance. And as young men go, so will the rest of the country.
Right.
And so I am encouraged to see the direction that young men are starting to go. And I want them to find what they're looking for in the places they should be able to find it.
Absolutely. We talked on our last time you and I talked, we talked a little bit about what was happening in Israel. We're talking about the threat of Islam.
Yeah.
It's interesting right now. There's a lot of folks who get it. Clearly they see Islamofascism as one of the greatest threats in the West, along with Marxism.
Yeah.
And I also think open society wokeism, all of that stuff. I mean, that's a big deal. But there is a naivety among some. And I'll say it like this. I've always been an admirer of and appreciated Tucker Carlson. I did hear in his speech something the other day that caused me to be concerned. It sounded like and you can take any opinion you want on
Sure.
this, but it sounded like he was suggesting that that Islam is not quite as big of a threat as others are making it out to be. He was insinuating that.
Yeah.
He talked a little bit about, he talked about blood guilt, that people aren't automatically guilty from birth. And I don't think he means that in a theological, spiritual sense. I think he means that in a more political sense.
Yeah.
But my biggest concern is Islam as an ideology,
Yeah.
as a militant group, posing as a religious group. It is an ideological worldview
Yeah.
that if you fail to understand it for what it is,
Sure.
you will be duped every single time. There was a book that came out, it was about 15 years ago, called Son of Hamas. It's a young man who grew up. One of his fathers was an elder within Hamas.
Yeah.
He became a Christian.
Yeah.
And he talks about the ladder of Islam.
Yeah.
And he said at the bottom rung are all the normie types that are living in the Islamic world.
Yeah.
And they're not fundamentalists.
Yeah.
Many of them are moderates. But he said every jihadi terrorist started out as a moderate.
Yeah.
And as you climb the ladder of Islam, submission,
Yeah.
and Tucker referred to it as submission, you recognize invariably it always leads to jihad. Always.
Well, it has to.
Yes.
So one of my biggest issues right now with some of the debates that we see going on within the conservative movement is not that we're having them, but that I no longer understand the standard of truth that is being used as justification for certain things. So when I listen to an argument and it doesn't make sense to me, that bothers me. And so the first thing I try to do is I try to say, okay, am I not understanding the argument correctly? Right? Is there something with me and my interpretation that is wrong? Because I always want to be open to the fact that I could be incorrect. Is there new information that I'm just not privy to that could inform the decision? That's a possibility. Is it possible that the other person is just using bad argumentation or is wrong? And is there a way that I could present information to them to say, okay, I get what you're getting at, but I think this is incorrect and this is why?
Mm-hmm.
The issue around Jews, around Israel, around Islam, this argument in the conservative spaces is going in a direction I don't understand.
Right.
So, for instance, when Thomas Massey says, I don't think we should have foreign aid going to Israel or anywhere else, I get that. I understand that argument. It makes sense to me. We can talk all day long about, okay, are there ever exceptions for when foreign aid should be, like if you have a common enemy or if you have a common objective, is it ever appropriate? We can have that conversation. But that makes sense. Agree or disagree, it makes sense. I'm not confused by the argument. Some of the arguments Tucker makes don't make sense to me based off of my understanding of Islam.
Right.
Now, it could be that I've just got Islam totally wrong. I don't think I do.
Right.
Part of my problem with a lot of the talk that goes on with respect to Islam is this idea of I'm watching people in the West either be horribly manipulated, paid off, and I'm not accusing Tucker of that.
Sure.
Or treating them like children.
Right.
Like, oh, there's no way they could possibly mean that. I'm pretty sure they do.
Right.
See, I feel like sometimes I am treating Islam with more respect than a lot of people in the West that are passing it off as this is no big deal.
Right.
Okay, well, I think it is a big deal. They think it's a big deal. And the worldview and what they want is diametrically opposed to what I want.
Yes.
Right? There's no confusion here. So when somebody gets up there and tells me, who claims to believe the same things I do religiously, claims to believe a lot of the same things I do politically, tells me, hey, this ideology, which is a ruling ideology in over 50 countries, which controls an enormous source of wealth with respect to the global economy,
Yes.
which has demonstrated time and time again that they're willing to engage in aggressive, violent action against me, both in my home and otherwise. No, it's no big deal. The real problem is Israel. Look, if you're someone that doesn't believe that we should have any relationship with Israel, okay. But you are not going to convince me based off of my understanding of world history
Right.
that is what poses a greater threat to my worldview, to my desired outcomes. I mean, I'm not Jewish, I'm a Christian. My desire is for all Jews and all Muslims, by the way, to come to the truth of Jesus Christ. That's what I want. Okay, but I've spent a little time in Israel, and I've spent a little time in the Arab world and the Muslim world specifically. There's a stark difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so again, I am willing to hear your arguments, but they better be good. And if the moment I say, I'm sorry, but based off of my experience, my understanding, my knowledge of history, my military experience, and everything else, I don't agree with you. If your immediate response is, well, I guess you get your $7,000 check now. Dude, piss off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Seriously. I am so done with that. I'm not accusing people who disagree with me of automatically being paid off shills. Okay? I want to hear arguments, because the standard of truth, both for Christianity and what I think should be for the conservative movement, is truth is objective. Morality is objective. We use facts, logic, and reason in order to debate things, but that's the standard. And if the standard that you use is you immediately attack my motives without any evidence, other than I disagree with you, well, you know where I see a lot of that happen? The left.
Right.
That is how the left argues. And I'm not about to accept it simply because we might want similar things with respect to tax policy or abortion or guns. You don't get to use that form of argumentation against me, and I don't get to use it against you, because we answer to a higher standard. That's what I want to see more of. So happy to have the conversations, happy to have the debates, but we got to have good faith arguments.
Yes. Amen. Nick, thank you for all you do. Thank you for common sense. It's like that's needed now more than ever. I always appreciate your conviction and bringing manhood back, and we need to mainstream manhood back in America. Godly, righteous men. That's what we need. And I really appreciate all you're doing.
Well, again, if people need to follow the show, they need to follow what the Freedom Center is doing, because if you're actually looking for a university that has really just went all in on how do we bring back godliness within our society, and argue for the things politically that we need to, but also things culturally and spiritually, you guys are at the forefront.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
God bless you.
You too.
Hey, did you find this helpful? I hope you did. Please like and subscribe, share with a friend, and also go to standingforfreedom.com, where you can find more content, articles, podcasts, and our Theology of Politics series, all at standingforfreedom.com.